I am dining in. Are you? Good morning, everybody. We are on to episode number 6 for Dining In Club. I know that we're all going through a lot of different changes with the coronavirus, so I just want to say we're staying true to our original plan, which was to review some protocols at this point. So today's going to be about protocols. We're also going to talk about some known benefits from intermittent fasting. Key really for this video is we're going to go through a number of different things, but I want people to stay on track. Remember to listen to the podcast, Dining In with Mike and Stacy on Anchor FM. We're updating information now. We've gotten back into podcasts, really honing in on some of the issues that may be helpful for the coronavirus and you being at home and how to deal with the cravings and issues like that. But today we want to get into really how we're going through factors of intermittent fasting and really seeing if I can move my slides here and going through the slides. So just kind of go through a few things. Slide onto slide number 5, which is we're just going to talk about how you're using your protocols and for weight loss, weight management, but also health and mind. So really getting into those basics. So onto slide number 6, just kind of think about that low sugar, low flour part of your protocol. How have you been able to implement that? You know, what does it mean that you'll never have sugar? Does it mean that you can't have it? Does it mean that you have to limit it in your life? How do you feel when you're limiting flour and sugar? You know, how does that work for you? Remember to listen to your body. That's one of the key things that we always want to say is our body will guide us. If we're not feeling well for some reason, our body's trying to tell us that we're maybe pushing it too hard, we're maybe not eating the right foods, or maybe going too far without foods or too short without foods. It depends on what you understand about your body. So what I really want you to do is really get into that mindset of saying, hey, you know, listen to my body. How do I manage cravings? And how can I work through that problem? Now on to slide number 7, really focusing on some of those return to the basics on intermittent fasting. How are you doing with fasting? You know, is it something that's fitting into your lifestyle in a nice way? Well, I hope so. And if it is, that's great. What have you learned about your body? How can your body tolerate eating without eating? I noticed myself is that when I'm eating 3 meals a day, like I was over a week vacation with my son, it was really a struggle in my body. My body just didn't feel as good. And now I feel much better now that I'm back, not eating during the day and just eating at night. I feel so much less bloated and just feel better. But figure out what works best for you. What works best for me may not work best for somebody else. So, somebody else may be a 12-hour fast, or and then 12 hours of eating window, maybe 16 hours of fasting, and 8 hours of eating window. I like the 20 to 22 hours of fasting and 2 to 4 hours of eating window. Just depends on what works best for your body. Write down what works best so that you know it and say, this is when I'm feeling my best. So when you really feel good, write that down someplace and post it someplace and really say, hey, this is when I feel good. I should continue to do this. Focus on some of the benefits and advantages for you. And so there may be different things about bowel movements, for example, that are like, wow, this works so much better in my life when I'm fasting, and this helps me or doesn't help me. Sometimes the constipation gets in the way. Figure out what works and figure out how you're doing it. Understand where your body may be resisting you and what you may need to do to change that, but also understand where others are resisting you and figure out what you can do about that. So now we're on to slide number 8, which is the basics of your protocol. Are you having success? And that's really the critical question is not only how is your body feeling, but are you having the success that you want? If yes, identify those keys. Focus in on those things so that you understand this is where my success lies, and this is where is really a good thing. If you're not having success, identify what you think might be you need to tweak or change a little bit. Now, it's really critical that when we talk about changing our protocol, we really try to change one or two things at a time. Don't change a massive amount of things, because then if you have a benefit or a setback or whatever, you don't know exactly which one it is. And so you just want to say, okay, you know what, I've got to be a little cleaner on the weekends. Okay, well, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to fast until noon instead of till and instead of eating 3 meals a day, maybe I'll fast until noon and just eat lunch and dinner, and or I'm going to pare back on my alcohol a little bit. But pick one or two things and really kind of focus in on those, and then listen to your body. If you struggle, remember you can always take action quickly. If you're struggling with a change, if you're saying I'm going for a 3-day fast, and your body's telling you no, you're not, you don't feel well, well, step back from that. Make that correction. Listen to your body. It's such a critical thing. We have this wonderful machine, and we need to listen to it and hear what it's trying to tell us about the choices that we're making. Now we're on to slide number 9. Remember that your brain is part of this protocol, and so you have to be addressing those thoughts and beliefs as you go along. Are you struggling? How are you managing your emotion, your stress? Especially in the time of this coronavirus, we're really struggling with changes to our routines. And so Stacy and I did a few podcasts on that and how that is just so stressful on your body. So make sure that you just understand how you're managing those emotions. Think again about what you've learned about habits and motivation and willpower, and so you can kind of integrate those things into this. How are you changing your self-talk? How are you working with your imagery, your beliefs? Remember, you have to keep those things going to manage that motivation and really keep your core beliefs moving in the correct direction. I've given you some homework on core beliefs, so really try to do that so that you understand who you are. It really makes a lot of the decisions that you have in your life go better. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is those exceptions in the protocol. Are they working in the right way for you? And the critical thing about that is, are they helping you with your long-term success, or are they somehow impeding you in some way? So, for example, uh, the exceptions could be helpful in terms of motivating you by delaying your gratification. Say, yes, I'm having that pizza tomorrow night, or I'm having that food tomorrow night, and I'm going to fast up until then. And you're delaying that gratification, and you're learning how to deal with cravings. Or they could be becoming too common. And so, yeah, I can have exceptions whenever I want. And now I'm no longer giving myself the 24-hour rule. And now I'm just saying, oh, this is an exception. I can just eat whatever I want. And that may be starting to get you into a place where you're moving backwards in terms of your weight loss or your goals. Now, on the flip side of this, exceptions that we have consistently, they may have become a part of our protocol, and we didn't really state it that way. And so Friday night pizza may have been an exception at one point, but now it is Friday night pizza every night, every Friday night, and that may not be intended for you. You may want to keep it as more of a special thing. So think about how your exceptions are working. Has it developed into a new line in the protocol, or is it truly an exception? And we want to keep those distinctions pretty close. Now, I really want you just to kind of write out that protocol, understand where you're at, keep things moving in the right direction. Now, what I want to do today is switch to really discuss that New England Journal of Medicine by DiCabo and Matson in 2019 that really talked about a lot of the potential benefits of intermittent fasting. And so we're just going to kind of cruise through this. The PowerPoint really does most of the work for it, so I'm not going to really emphasize too much here. But there really is a difference. So now I'm on to slide 11. Really is a difference between a fed state and a fasting state. And when we're in a fasting state, we're really in a place where we're developing resistance to stress, we're recycling damaged molecules, we're stimulating biogenesis of our mitochondrial factors, we're promoting cell survival. So we're really in a different state. Whereas in that fed state, we're really in this growth and reproduction state, but that's something different. There's benefits to both states, but what we want to do is we want to support both of those states and not just rely on the one side. Going on to slide 12, the impact of after we eat, fed state, glucose is used for energy, and then fat is stored in the adipose tissue as triglycerides. During a fasting state, those triglycerides are broken down and into fatty acids and glycerol, and they're used for energy. And then our liver also converts those fatty acids into ketone bodies. And one of the things that we're going to learn over the next few months and years is really the benefits of the ketone bodies for those. Those are providing major sources of energy for our tissue and our brain, but there's something beneficial about those ketone bodies that I think that we're just at the tip of the iceberg about in terms of what they actually help with our body. So in a fed state, levels of ketone bodies are quite low, but rise within 8 to 12 hours of fasting, which is a good thing, as we'll see as you go along. And if you read the article, which I attached, that will really lead a lot of the discussion and help you understand that. Metabolic switching from the use of glucose to ketone bodies actually changes the ratio between carbon dioxide produced to oxygen consumed, which is a good thing. This seems to increase our metabolic flexibility and the efficiency of our energy production. So this is really another key issue of fasting. So now we're on to slide number 14. We can look at different aspects. I said that ketone bodies seem to be a factor, and they seem to regulate this expression and activity of many proteins and molecules that are known to influence our health. And so they seem to help with systemic metabolism, but they also seem to really help our brain-derived neurotrophic factors, which have implications for a lot of psychiatric disease and our neurodegenerative disorders. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So we're really on to slide number 15 now. We really have to understand that these impacts for intermittent fasting are way beyond just weight loss. They're really truly health things. They go into areas of endurance, blood pressure, heart rate, and abdominal fat loss. But we also, going on to slide number 16, we're starting to see that almost all organisms and all organ systems seems to benefit and respond to intermittent fasting in some way and restore a homeostasis after they overcome that challenge. And I think that that's one of those things that we're starting to understand is the benefits of this. I think that those benefits are very similar to what happens with exercise. And so we can do something similar to exercise without exercising, which is amazing. And when we combine the two, which I've really been a proponent of, then we have this massive benefit. Slide number 17, I'll just let you read. Slide number 18, effects of intermittent fasting on aging and health. There's some really good stuff. Some of it's from University of Wisconsin that we're really seeing that intermittent fasting seems to improve a lot of health-related issues and may improve survival. On to slide number 19, effects of intermittent fasting are similar impact on cognitive and physical function. Slide number 20, something near and dear to my heart, is cardiovascular disease and cognitive effects. Cardiovascular disease really seems to impact by intermittent fasting as well. And we've already heard about improvements in blood pressure, resting heart rate, but levels of HDL improve and LDL improve, triglycerides improve, glucose levels, insulin resistance, all of those things improve in inflammatory markers. So those are all great things. And now we're kind of done. So I'm going to not leave the cancer for you. Have a good day. Bye.